right, welcome in. It is the Breer Report for January the 10th. Wildcard weekend is here. We're going to put all the coaching searches, the general manager searches, and we got 6 coaching searches and 3 GM searches as it stands right now. Aside for the moment, focus on the football for the weekend. We'll have plenty more on all of that stuff, the coaching GM searches, of course, next week for you. We'll just go chronologically through the 6 games. I'm going to give you some rapid fire thoughts on each of the games and where these teams are at. And we'll start with the Saturday afternoon game. The Chargers will visit the Houston Texans. This is a really interesting matchup looking at the two teams and where they're at. And for me, coming into this one, where is Houston in its offense? Where is CJ Stroud in year 2? Where does the offense look like it's going forward? I think a lot of us came into this season looking at them and saying that could be a dark horse Super Bowl team. It doesn't feel like they are right now. In fact, it almost feels like it'd be a surprise if they won at home against the Chargers. Now, to be fair to them, there have been some unforeseen circumstances. Tank Dell's out for the year. Stephon Diggs is out for the year. The offensive line hasn't played the way that they had expected it to. Defensively, they've been pretty good. And, I think you've got a lot of positive on that side of the ball. Not just with guys that you expected to play big, like your Will Andersons, your Daniil Hunters, your Derek Stingley, who's become one of the best corners in the league. But even guys like Lassiter, their rookie corner, who's really come along. Like, you start to see some pieces like where they're going in the future. Offensively, what are we going to see? That's the big thing for me. Like, what does CJ Stroud look like with the playoffs here, being put back on this big stage again? Does he look like the rookie version of CJ Stroud, or is he a little less consistent than that, which is what we've got which is what we've gotten this year? And what does that mean for them going forward? What does that mean for Bobby Slowick's future in Houston? These are all things that I think are on the line on Saturday. And then the other end of this matchup, of course, I feel like the Chargers come into this one with house money. They are coming off an 11-win regular season. It looks like the arrow is pointing way up on the Chargers program under Jim Harbaugh. They've maximized so many guys. Derwin James is already a great player, but he's taken it to another level. Look what they're getting out of Vlad McConkey as a rookie. Look what they got out of J.K. Dobbins as a veteran pickup. Justin Herbert is playing mistake-free football. The tackle situation going forward couldn't be stronger with Rashawn Slater and Joe Wallace, which is an arrow where a program that looks like it's got the arrow pointing up. And this is a team that should come in and feel like it's playing with house money, that should come in and play fast and free on Saturday afternoon. So I think you got a team in the Chargers who are that house money team, which is what the Texans were last year. And then you got a Texans team that's now saddled with the weight of the expectations that they were dealing with coming into the season. It's going to be interesting to see how those two match up. The Saturday night game, this is one that I'm going to be at that I can't wait for. Baltimore, Pittsburgh, third time this year. The two teams split over the course of the season. I think for my money, since 2000, maybe the best rivalry in the NFL. With the continuity of characters for all of those years. It was Joe Flacco against Ben Roethlisberger for a lot of years. Now it's been Mike Tomlin versus John Harbaugh. We know what these two teams are. In a lot of ways, they're reflections of each other. I cannot wait to see what this looks like. So a couple things that I'm looking for. Number one, for Baltimore, a lot of focus is going to be on Lamar. I'm going to be looking at Zach Orr and that defense, how well they've played down the stretch. Can they sustain it? And, the difference Kyle Hamilton's made as a center fielder, does he kind of take that step onto a big national stage now and play a big role in a playoff win? I'm excited to see that for Baltimore. And then Pittsburgh, how do they get their offense out of the rut? I really feel like you're going to see a little bit more from Justin Fields this week. How do they manage Russell Wilson? I think all of that stuff is in play here. It's going to be an interesting one to watch. Where Pittsburgh is at from an offensive perspective, because I think as good as the Steelers defense is, you can count on the Ravens being able to move the ball and score, as well as Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry have played all year, and as much as their offensive lines come together. Let's move forward to Sunday. Denver, Buffalo. This is another one of those house money versus pressure games. Lots of pressure on the Bills. Like, you cannot lose this game if you're the Buffalo Bills. Based on all the ups and downs you've had the last few years, Josh Allen playing high-level football. It doesn't mean that they're going to be in any weird spot going into 2025, but there is pressure on Buffalo to perform in the postseason now. So what does it look like? And can this sort of turned over group of Buffalo Bills around Josh Allen and with Sean McDermott as a coach, and now Joe Brady is the offensive coordinator, can they get over the hump? Again, I think the Broncos are a little bit like the Chargers. They're coming in with house money. They got the rookie quarterback, Bo Nix. They got Sean Payton in year 2. They've got a really young team, a lot of good vibes. Vance Joseph's done a terrific job on defense. Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper coming off the edge. Patrick Surtain's one of the very best players in football at any position. The Broncos come in there feeling dangerous, and they have a right to feel that way based on the way that this season has gone. I really like where, again, those AFC West teams with the Broncos and the Chargers, and we know what the Chiefs are. I mean, it looks like it's going to be dynamite for the next few years, and maybe a little bit of a deterrent for candidates looking at those Raiders jobs, looking at what you might be up against there in the AFC West. Second game on Sunday, the middle game, your 4:30 kickoff, Green Bay at Philadelphia. Again, like, this sort of feels like a lot of pressure on one team, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. This is sort of, kind of an all-in group. Like, you look at, there's so many guys on that roster that are in the prime of their careers. You got Nick Sirianni, came into the season on the hot seat. He's put forth a sort of year that's taken him off the hot seat. But, I can tell you this, I don't think he's getting fired coming out of this game regardless. But if they can't make it out of the first round, exactly where the conversation is going to go. Obviously, they invested a lot in both their coordinators, Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. And the player development, the player identification machine that Howie Roseman's been able to establish there. This is a loaded roster, and so with guys in smack dab in the middle of the prime of their careers, guys like Saquon Barkley and AJ Brown, and now Devontae Smith is getting to that age, and Jalen Hurts and Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson's on the back nine, obviously. Can you get it done for that group of players? It's going to be really interesting to see. The Packers, I think kind of go as Jordan Love's going to go. They're a little bit more versatile than they were last year. Jeff Hafley's done an awesome job with the defense. They become more attacking defensively. And then, Josh Jacobs has really added some edge to the offense, including, I'd say I'd throw Tucker Kraft in that category too. They've got more of a physical edge, so they're able to do a little bit more. I think Jordan Love is going to have to be really good for them to win this game, especially with the defense missing Jair Alexander, who changes the dynamic of how Jeff Hafley is going to call it. The nightcap, Washington at Tampa. And this is, again, I sort of feel like a house money versus pressure game. There's pressure on the Bucs to win here with the group of players that they have. Not that it's not sustainable going forward, but I do think, being able to perform in the playoffs now after Tom Brady is another step they can take. Washington, the roster's not there yet, right? Like, they're still going to have to go out in the offseason and get tackles and get edge rushers. And, the corner positions stabilize a little with Marshawn Lattimore, so maybe that's not as much of a need. But this is still a team that's the very beginning stages of a build, and you've got a rookie quarterback, and they've got the same thing I said earlier about the Chargers and the Broncos. They can go in there and play fast and free, and I think that makes them a dangerous team in this matchup. And then finally, the Monday night game. First of all of our thoughts are with the people in Los Angeles. Obviously this game has to be moved to Arizona now. Just a tough situation. I know the Rams, went and did great by their people. I know they took a bunch of the families and got them hotel space up in Santa Barbara. A fantastic job by the Rams managing this. So you want to give them credit for that. Does this change the dynamic a little bit? It might. The Rams come into this, of course, I think having had a year that they're very proud of, they've reset the roster. They're younger in a lot of spots. So they come in, and then they're playing a Vikings team again that won 14 games that I think, you see it now, and you see like so many pieces of that operation coming together. It's so impressive how they've gotten younger and faster, and they're doing this with the dead money on their cap, and they've been able to sort of clean things up just from a roster perspective where they're set to go forward. And so the guy who's got the most pressure on him in this game, I think, is still Sam Darnold. Like, how does, all of that success over the course of the regular season look now? He didn't play great against Detroit on Sunday night. What does that look like on Monday night against the Rams? And then how that's going to look for him, I think, is going to depend in large part on what happens up front in that matchup up front between the Vikings line that, again, it's done an admirable job, but they do not have Christian Darrisaw in there at left tackle. That's why they traded for Cam Robinson in midseason. And now you're having to go up against a Rams front that brings Jared Verse and Braden Fisk and Kobe Turner and Byron Young, a really, really, really good Rams front. That to me is the one that determines this one. And we'll see what happens. Again, this is another chance for Sam Darnold to put another notch on his resume, and be rewarded for everything that he's accomplished over the course of the year, either by the Vikings or somebody else in the offseason. Appreciate you guys coming out. You can check out my picks. There's a reason I didn't pick them here. You can check out my picks on all the games. That's up on the mmqb.com. Our awards are up there. We had a ton of great stuff this week. Shout out to Mitch and Matt and Gilberto and our editors, Mitch, and I didn't even mention Connor there. So yeah, Connor, or you too. Mitch Goldich, John Plume, Claire Brennan, just a great team effort this week at the MMQB. Please be sure to check out all that stuff up on the website now to get you ready for a huge weekend of football ahead. We'll see you guys on Tuesday with another Breer Report.